been fun. I've got a 3 and 5-year-old, and they are kind of in that in between stage where, thank goodness, we don't have to do like a full schooling for them. But we've
Yeah.
been trying to keep a process going during the day, teach them something, and then do something fun and try and do some work. But it's challenging.
God bless you, man. Anybody, like all my friends with kids 3 to 10 right now is, I just can't imagine it, because under 3, they're pretty easy. I feel like, I mean, I've got a 3-month-old, so that's really, really easy. But, and then above 10, they can kind of entertain themselves a little bit. Right. But 3 to 10 is that sweet spot where you just get chalk all over your backyard.
Yeah. They still want you to do absolutely everything for you. And I had to move the camera because my son was just plastering his face on the window here, just to make sure that everybody sees him.
Yeah, he's a ham. He wants to get up in there.
Yeah.
So how have you been doing, man? Tell me a little bit about quarantine life over there, besides the kids.
Honestly, man, quarantine life, I think it goes through phases. The first phase is like, what are we going to do? How long is this going to last? And I think I'm down through a few phases, and now I'm in the phase of appreciation, to be honest with you. Really appreciate a lot of the time. I joke around about the kids going crazy, but it is really fun to be able to spend so much time with them and POW, and be able to just experience a lot more than you would experience with, I mean, you're the same as me. You just run around constantly, different meetings and everything, and you're just constantly busy. So it's really nice to kind of be forced to sit down with your family and loved ones and do Zoom meetings like this and really kind of connect with a lot of people. So it's been nice.
Straight up. I've been calling it a forced paternity leave, at least for me, because I would have never taken this time. You know what I mean? And I've got now a month under the books with my 2-month-old, who is now a 3-month-old. And that's clutch time to take in that I probably wouldn't have been here otherwise.
It is. You'll absolutely appreciate it once, after all this is said and done. It's going to be interesting to see what my children remember of this time, because this is kind of a once in a lifetime thing for, I guess, everyone in the world at this point. And it'll be interesting to see what my children, we've told them it's a germ. And so It'll be interesting to hear what they remember years from now about this time.
What do you think, my wife and I were just talking about this, what do you think is going to change because of this? Like in the future, 10 years from now, is there anything society-wise that's going to change because of what we just went through?
Sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think the working from home and ability to run things through the internet will be a bigger thing that'll save. I think it'll save companies, office space and that kind of stuff, because we really have been able to run a lot of stuff through Zoom. And I think the owner of Zoom will surpass Jeff Bezos in a month or so.
Yeah, he's on track.
Yeah. No, I think I think using the internet for connecting, which is kind of originally what it was set up for, I think is the direction that I've gone in a little bit more, and I hope will continue versus, prior, even a week prior to all this shutdown, there's just so much divisiveness on the internet. Yeah, it's nice to be able to kind of connect with everyone. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's funny because we were just saying, like, FaceTime, like we FaceTime with our parents, with now Jet's grandparents and stuff like that, almost every day, every other day. Yep. That technology has been out for like 3 or 4 years. We just weren't using it as much. Yep. But now I think that because of this time where we had to use it, we're going to start to use it even on more of a optional level moving forward, with out of town friends and family and stuff like that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if handshakes go away. I foresee, as we start to move back into this and it starts we can go outside, no one's going to be running up and handshaking right away. It's going to be a year or two before people feel comfortable doing that. And at that point, do we just replace it with fist bumps or elbow bumps or something like that? I wouldn't be surprised if we see that.
Yeah, I think there will be, at least for our generation, will be that precaution, just seeing seeing how quickly things can really kind of tank, when we don't have these precautions and these precautionary measures in place.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting how quickly things.
So Luke, you're a friend of the show, but for anybody who's watching who doesn't know Luke Middleton, tell us a little bit. You're from Indiana.
From Indiana.
Okay.
Grew up in Indiana, went to Purdue.
Shout out Purdue.
Yeah, shout out Boilermakers, Boiler up, baby.
Shout out Drew Brees, Brad Miller,
Drew
one
Brees.
of my favorite
Nick Hardwick, Sean Phillips. Yeah, we got a good amount of.
I used to root for Purdue back in the tourney, back in when I was growing up. Not growing up, I was probably 15 or 16. But when Sacramento made the deep run into the Western Conference Finals, and then we picked up Brad Miller, and he was our guy for the longest time.
Brad Miller, didn't he did like this every free throw? He did something like this, and it was like a shout out to his fraternity, and he did that through his entire professional career.
I don't recall, but I feel like Brad Miller's the guy who would pack a dip before like an NBA game.
Sure.
Yeah, he's the type of guy who would absolutely do that. He was straight country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was a good representative of Indiana.
So it came from Indiana straight to San Diego, got into real estate, or what? Or was there a journey in there that I
first came out here? I got a job with a large home builder, and first moved out here and lived up in Paris, California.
Oh, okay. Shout out Paris.
Yeah.
If you on the 215 on the way out to Vegas, right?
Yeah. If you're on your way to anything else, you pass Paris.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's known for, it's got a really good jump zone for skydiving out there.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. But yeah, I lived out there and worked for a large home builder and did construction and customer service. And that's kind of what I had grown up doing. My mom and her wife would do flipping most of my life. So I kind of grew up helping landscaping and painting and stuff like that. So I was really very familiar with construction and that kind of stuff. So I kind of came out and did that. After a couple of years, I moved into sales. So I did new home sales, moved down to San Diego and sold Nexus and Element downtown. And my office was where East Village Tavern is now.
Oh, boom. Okay.
So yeah, I've been around the downtown scene for a while, and and then just kind of went in back in 2008 was when I joined up with Andrew Cantor and Cantor Companies, and
shout out to Andrew.
Better part of a decade, and absolutely loved it. Learned nearly everything that I know now about remodels and investments and property and all that kind of stuff. And here we are. And now you're killing the world. And so now you just moved your team over to Big Block Realty, or no, probably about a year ago, right? Or somewhere. It was middle of the year last year. Yeah. So almost a year.
How's that move going?
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And it works really well. It works really well for us. One, they give so much information to us, and you know how it is. Obviously you absolutely love Compass. You know how it is when you find a place that you really feel like just really fits.
Yep.
And I had bounced around to a couple of different places, and once we got here, it was like, you just have that feeling. So it was just
good.
Nice to get here.
Shout out Sam K.
Yep,
my wife said to stop saying shout out to everybody in the world.
Shout out to your wife.
Shout out to my wife, Roxy. Can you make me some coffee? Thanks, babe. Shout out. So you've been in the business for a little while. This is obviously kind of a different take, right? I mean, we've never necessarily seen a complete shutdown like this. At least in my career, 8 years, and your career, however X amount of years. What are you telling your team right now to be doing and or anticipating to like coming around the corner here?
So when we moved over to Big Block and a little even prior to that, I started building the team in anticipation of a recession, some version of a recession. And my projection was sometime after the election, no matter who won, that at least things would start in a healthy way, start going down. And here we are. So, we actually built the team for this specific type of, not this obviously pandemic type of a situation,
Sure.
but we built it for a distress market. And so right now, without the ability to be able to, really get out and go to a bunch of properties and that kind of thing, we really set it up as we're doing a lot of prospecting and a lot of online marketing. And, we can still drive around. We have an app called Deal Machine, where we can just drive around and drop a pin on a property that we see that looks a little distressed, and it'll start sending them flyers and start sending them stuff. And so we just have thousands of those going out, every 17 days. And so it's a lot of prospecting right now, a lot of setting up virtual appointments and getting people prepared. Because it seems like a lot of people right now, everybody's just waiting to see what is going to happen.
Yep.
And for us on the construction side, it's kind of a perfect time because we do renovations and flips and stuff. And so doing a renovation now and putting something on the market in 2 months is kind of ideal versus putting it on now. Or we also do, like Compass Concierge. We have that same model where you can come in and, do a renovation for a seller. And so a lot of sellers seem to be kind of jumping on that type of situation now. So that's really what the team is doing, is a lot of prospecting, setting up appointments and going from there.
Have you noticed that part of the business has gotten busier in the last month, like the distressed portion of people responding to those postcards?
Yeah, I think people are looking at, because an overwhelming number of people, especially here in Southern California, have equity in their homes. Here, I'm going to move
the sun shifted on you a little bit.
Yeah, here, let me move this here, see if this helps. The chair is collapsing. Nope, that didn't help at all.
So I can cut the middle out. It's no big deal. I'm going to edit this before I post it.
Here we go. Yeah, it's good enough.
Good.
So what was your question again?
So the question was, have you noticed that business has picked up in this last, month or so, where more people responding to those postcards? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, overwhelming majority of people have at least some sort of equity in their homes over the last decade. And so people are looking at the current situation, whether they've lost their job or not, and look at, hey, I've got $200,000 in equity. That can be a nice little buffer for whatever is going to happen in the future.
Sure.
So it's something where, we're seeing people talk about either taking cash offers or doing a renovate to sell, or just simply listing, taking their cash and renting, or maybe putting it into some other investment that will get them a better return than just a simple single family home. So we're getting that conversation a lot.
Have you noticed any changes or opportunities in the business? I mean, aside from that, which anytime a market downturns, you start to see distressed sales and things like that. So that's not necessarily like new, but have you noticed anything or foresee anything because of this that's happening right now? Something will change, which will create an opportunity for real estate agents moving forward.
The
answer can be no. The answer can be no as well.
Yeah. And to that, I've been, short answer, no. Long answer, I've been telling my team, it feels like right now we're kind of on the backside of this hill. And as soon as we get up at that crest of the hill and we start seeing a sliver of what the next 6 months will look like, then I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities that are out there. Especially obviously we look at it from the investment side. And once I can project what's going to happen in the next 6 months, then we're going to make our necessary adjustments and then start buying properties, start adjusting our marketing spend and stuff like that. But short answer, no.
I don't think, and it's funny because I don't think that necessarily anybody can predict what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I mean, I can't even I watch these news conferences every day, and I don't even know what's going to come out of their mouth. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even predict today, much less 3 months, much less a year. But I think the ones that win are the people that can recognize where something is going or what's happening, and then react quickest and be a first mover to the new reality. Right? I mean, we've talked about this before in the past. Like, everybody for the last 10 years, you know, hated on Zillow and whatnot because of how they changed the industry. But like, those people were still living in the newspaper ads and the MLS books and stuff like that. They hadn't shifted to the new reality. And now maybe the new reality after that is using social media, Google pay-per-click and Facebook ads to find distressed properties and flipping them. You know what I mean? That's kind of a prediction, but I'm just saying, like, basically never get romantic about how you do your business, recognize where the business is, and then be the first one there and start to establish yourself with your reputation and your brand in that space.
Yep. Well, I think it was helpful too to be able to go through 2008. And, you know, I in 2008, I was on the new home sales from 2006 to 2008. And then that was when we were selling, we finished out selling Nexus. And of course, you know, the market was down, especially for new home sales at that time. And so seeing what happened there and then transitioning into working with an investment group and seeing all of the things that we were able to accomplish, and then things that I wish we would have done back then. It's now looking at that and saying, okay, how can we predict what's going to move forward, and how can we you know, really kind of take advantage of the situation moving forward.
That's good. Lightening it up. What have you been doing? And I want to bring it in because I want to be respectful of your time. I told you it'd be 15 minutes and we're at 20 right now. Tell me a little bit about what you've been binge watching. You've been watching anything while you're over there in quarantine?
Binge watching. I'm still, I like Westworld.
Oh, okay. Good.
That's been a good one. What else?
Do you understand what's happening on Westworld?
No.
Oh yeah. Cause I don't.
Nope.
And I haven't watched Sunday's episode. So
I really liked the first season. And I really liked the concept and wish they would have stayed in kind of that robot Western world for a couple of seasons, but it took a pretty severe dive, and I still don't really understand what's happening, but I enjoy it. So we'll see.
I don't understand a thing past season one. Even season one, like, kind of threw me for a loop, but I could follow it a little bit. But then into 2 and now 3, I'm completely lost. I basically go straight to Reddit right after the episode and try to like read what other people are saying, so that I'm like, oh, exactly. Wait a minute, that happened, and I have to like
Westworld for Dummies. You're like, wait a minute, this is representative of 19th. No, and then maybe Money Heist. I don't know if you watch that.
Okay, so it's on Netflix, right? Because it's right. I've been watching Ozark, and Money Heist is always right next to it, but I haven't started Money Heist yet.
Money Heist is really good. It's a Spanish show, and so it's all in Spanish, obviously.
Does Paola, does she translate it for you?
Yeah, she sits on the couch, and I watch her. I hear, and then I look at her. I'm like this the whole time. Yeah. So it takes a lot more for me to comprehend it, but it's really nice. Perfect.
But it's more like natural. I like that better.
Yeah. Right. So that's in Ozark, of course. We started watching Tiger King, but man, it's like in these days I feel like I need things that don't make me feel gross.
Yeah. I watched it. My wife got into it, and I was not even paying attention through the first couple episodes. I was working on my laptop, but by like episode 4, I was like, this is amazing. Like this is, I cannot believe that this all happens and exists.
Yeah, and real.
Yeah, and it's real.
Yeah, it's like you want, especially these days where you're so impressed by a lot of what humans are doing and able to kind of band together and help, and then you have this where you're like, this guy and the people surrounding them are like, there shouldn't be a world that supports this.
And now they're all famous. Have you seen the guy with like the meth mouth, but now he got his teeth fixed and everything, and now they're all they got that Netflix money.
Oh yeah, man. Of course, yeah.
What's the most bored thing that you've done on quarantine?
So one of the funny things, and this has a bit of a backstory. So with the children, oftentimes it started off on Saturdays, but now feels like every day Saturday.
There's no
But
days anymore.
yeah, every Saturday I used to take them on an adventure. So I'd pack them in the car in the morning, and we'd go do something. We'd go to a park, we'd go to the beach, we'd go just do something for a couple of hours. And so it was always an adventure. So now nearly every day they ask, Daddy, can we go on an adventure? Can we go on an adventure? And so one day we're just sitting around, and of course, knowing that nothing is open and we can't really do anything. I packed them in the car, and I'm like, you know what? I can find something. Packed them in the car, drove them around, looked, nope, that park is closed. That park's closed. We can't really ride our bikes in a parking lot. That park is closed. And then I just end up coming back home. And I've done that like 6 times. That's serious, thinking at some point things will change. And no, everything's still closed.
You're the guy who goes to the fridge and then looks in there and closes it, but then comes back.
Comes back 10 minutes later, like, okay, did I miss something in here?
Yeah, hold on, behind the milk. No, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've even drove to like Chula Vista. I've drove out to like Santee, just
that's an adventure.
But the problem is, it's just them in the car.
Yeah.
So it's not that exciting for them. So then we come back here and we just, do something fun. So yeah, you just got to be creative.
You're a good dad, Luke.
Good job.
You're doing a really good job. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Anything else you want to say before we bounce? Any questions for me?
What's the most bored thing that you've been into?
Oh, I've literally watched every NBA Finals from 1996 to 2019. And now I'm moving into the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. I've also watched all 3 of the Giants World Series games, clinching games. So Game 7 against the Royals, I think it was 5 against the Tigers. So I've watched all of that. And then I've watched, I found a bootleg version of the Niners Super Bowl that we won in 1995. So I'm literally like reliving all of the glory days of my sport.
What would be your ideal scenario for the first sporting event that you would watch? And how many trillions of people do you think will be watching that?
All the people will watch any sport. I think if you and I played one-on-one, they would tune in and we would get mad. Like
millions of viewers.
Yeah, exactly. I was literally watching horse 3 days ago, while Tamika Catchings played Mike Conley or something like that on the most bootleg horse game I've ever seen, because it's sports. My idea was to do the playoffs. NBA is right there. They're 10 games off their playoffs. If they all go to the middle of the country somewhere, Nebraska, I don't know, somewhere like Indiana, go to the real middle of the country there. They can play at Purdue. And they basically get Airbnbs or hotels all in, each team gets their own and they're all quarantined, and then they go and they can play and they can run 2 or 3 games a day and they can get through the playoffs in a quarantined situation, no one in, no one out. And they broadcast it, no fans, they broadcast it. And the players want to play, they want to get paid. And the owners want to get the ad money from the TV. Everybody in the world is going to watch it. And then we get to see some basketball. It's going to be weird, like initially, I think, watching games with no fans, but I mean, we'll get used to it. I don't really
notice the fans too much anyway, but
I don't see fans in stadiums for a long time though. So I saw Governor, you know what I mean? Not till I think at least until next year. Governor Newsom was talking about reopening California, but kind of more like a dimmer switch instead of a light switch. And so I think that's like the last thing on the switch is massive gatherings of 20,000, 50,000 people. And so if that's the case, then we're just going to play without fans. Just get it started, set up a situation. I think that all happens if we can get quick testing, where they can test every player before the game, 15-minute results or whatever. Then we can unlock some sports. But baseball too. I think baseball, I like the idea of getting them, even if it's in Arizona, where they all play in that spring training area and then they just play the game.
Yep.
Anything we'll do at this point.
It'll be nice. And I have one more thing before we go on the sports thing. Probably 2 weeks in, I saw a Facebook video of a guy that painted eggs with different sports teams, and he was doing a like Sweet 16 round, and all he would do is take the eggs and he'd show like Purdue and Gonzaga, and he just hit them together, and whoever didn't break, you go on to the next round. And
that's where
I got so excited because Purdue was in it, and Purdue made it to like the Final Four or something like that. And then I got super pissed when they lost. And I'm like, come on, we're not going to lose to Central Michigan. What are you talking about?
You got to be real. If Purdue was in the Final Four, they were kind of a Cinderella story at that point anyway.
100%.
So
100%.
you should take the win and be happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd think.
Luke, thanks for coming on, man. Dude, always good rapping with you. I appreciate it. Tell Paula and the kids we say hi. We love them. Stay safe.
I will. Thanks for having me, bud. We'll talk soon.
All right, later.